All right, and next up we have Grant Hill and Jaylen
Ooh,
Brown. Grant
ooh.
Hill is suggesting that Jaylen Brown is a conspiracy theorist or believes in conspiracy theories because Jaylen Brown is kind of trying to Jaylen Brown is attempting to rationalize why he was kept off of the United States men's basketball Olympic team. So, for anybody who is unaware, the men's national team is over in Paris competing in the Olympics. The team originally had Kawhi Leonard on it, which did not make any sense to me. This
Mhm,
guy couldn't play at all in the playoffs, cracked his knee like he does every year.
mhm.
How in the hell was it? We need to do a separate video on even why
Yes,
that happened, okay? Because that
agreed.
doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But rightfully so, Kawhi Leonard was sent home because he's hurt, because he's always hurt. And in his place, they replaced him with Derrick White. Derrick White, a role player, swingman, 3-and-D guy who plays for the Celtics. And people kind of went crazy because they felt like he should have been replaced with Jaylen Brown.
Mm.
Jaylen Brown has been low key suggesting that there was collusion which prevented him from being put on the team because, according to Jaylen Brown,
Mhm.
Nike has a heavy influence on the men's Olympic team. Jaylen Brown is not a Nike athlete. Apparently, I guess I don't know if Derrick White is or isn't, but I know Jaylen Brown is not. And so Jaylen Brown is suggesting that because he's not a Nike athlete, he was left off the team. That's where the conspiracy angle comes in. And now Grant Hill is dismissing the conspiracy angle, saying the reason why they went with Derrick White over Jaylen Brown is purely for basketball reasons because of the fit, because Derrick White is the better fit on Team USA instead of Jaylen Brown. So here is the explanation of that. This article here. So this says after Grant Hill takes aim at Jaylen Brown, Celtic star responds. Just hours before Team USA's matchup against Serbia in the 2024 Paris Olympics, Boston Celtic star Jaylen Brown clapped back at Grant Hill for seemingly labeling the 27-year-old a conspiracy theorist. So here's the tweet here from Jaylen Brown. It says, Grant Hill calling me a conspiracy theorist is disappointing. I've been a VP since I was 21 years old. I have a great understanding. Brown is referring to comments that Hill, the managing director of Team USA, made on the Dan Patrick Show a few days back. We'll go ahead and not play that clip because it's not all that paramount to the point of this. So it goes on to say, this is an excerpt from Grant Hill's comments on Dan Patrick Show. I spoke to Brown's agent, Grant said, when discussing the decision to replace an injured Kawhi Leonard with Derrick White in lieu of Brown. I don't know if that was before or after things went out on Twitter, but yeah, I think this idea that there's a conspiracy theory. I always love a good conspiracy theory, but it was really truly a basketball decision, and these are tough decisions. The former University of California, Berkeley standout who played the best basketball of his pro career in the 2024 NBA playoffs is not a member of the national team, despite earning Eastern Conference Finals MVP and Finals MVP during the Boston's title run. Three Celtics, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, and White, are representing the United States in Paris. Tatum and Holiday were both in the 2020 iteration of Team USA, which went on to win the country a gold medal. The duo averaged a combined 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists per game during the national team stint in Tokyo. So, Grant Hill is kind of being dismissive towards Jaylen Brown's assertion that he was left off the team because he's not a Nike player, which is what the conspiracy, if you want to use that word, I think conspiracy is strong. I don't think that's an accurate representation of what's going on here. But they said it, not me. Grant Hill used the word conspiracy. So that's what he said. So he's gonna have to eat that. But what do you make of Grant Hill's explanation that it wasn't anything other than basketball to replace Kawhi Leonard with Derrick White instead of Jalen Brown?
I didn't like it. I didn't like Grant Hill's explanation. When I heard his explanation, I too was disappointed. I grew up a Grant Hill fan, even though he went to Duke. Um, I just thought the guy was the consummate professional. He always held himself the right way. He always conducted himself the right way. Married man with children. Just a solid stand-up dude. It appeared up and down. And I was always a person who said that if this dude never got hurt, what this career would have looked like. But the guy was an absolute hooper, in my opinion. So he always had my respect. So to see him play politician through this Olympic situation has been thoroughly disappointing. He's clearly like a spokesperson. He's well spoken, so I'll handle it. Or hey, Grant, why don't you handle that? And he just goes out there and talks his talk, and he's talking real company man stuff. One of his arguments of why they didn't have Jaylen Brown on the team was because he realized that Bam and Anthony Davis was a good combo together, and they had enough fours on the team. They had enough fours on the team, and I was like, okay. And for those of you who don't know, four is a power forward
in the traditional sense.
The traditional sense, okay.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown does not play the four. So he's a 2 or 3. So he's a shooting guard or a small forward. All right. You can stretch him out to the 4. I wouldn't be surprised if you could, but you're stretching him out to play small ball. So that's not his position anyway. So one of his arguments of why they didn't bring him on the team was laughable. Kawhi Leonard doesn't play a 4. So Derrick White doesn't play the 3 that replaces Kawhi. I understood from the aspect of them adding Derrick White because I think Derrick White is an excellent basketball player. They could say he's the 5th guy on the Celtics. I would say that he was the 3rd most important person after Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday. So I hold Derrick White to a very high esteem. I'll take him on any one of my teams any day of the week.
Absolutely.
So I don't have a problem with him being an Olympian. However, once you look at the rest of the roster and how the rest of the roster is constructed, they're just grabbing the best of. And if you're just grabbing the best of, why not grab the Finals MVP and the Eastern Conference MVP? The guy can play defense and he can play offense. What's the big deal here? So it's not a 1-for-1 for Kawhi, but it's not a bad drop off, when Kawhi's healthy. So I didn't like Grant Hill's excuse for why they did this. I didn't care for him asserting that Jaylen's a conspiracy theorist. I felt like that was a 4-letter word, calling him that, from professional to professional, part of their brotherhood and stuff like that. Calling him a conspiracy theorist is kind of labeling this man. And I don't care for that label, especially where he's at. And like Jaylen said, hey man, I've been vice president, since he was 21. But I will tell you this, that Jaylen is a very outspoken man. He stood up for Kyrie when Kyrie was getting the railroad. And when Jaylen Brown got that big old contract, he was saying that he was going to use that money to help build a Black Wall Street. Okay, this guy doesn't play by the rules, is what I'm getting at. He's doing his own thing. And which is kind of surprising why they gave him Eastern Conference MVP and Finals MVP. I felt like that was the right thing to do because he deserved it, but I thought that he was already in bad graces before all of that, so he wouldn't even get it. But he still got those trophies, but I think they're shafting him with this. So because the streets wanted either Kyrie or Jaylen. And I felt like Jaylen was a better fit than Kyrie. And but they still went Derrick White, where again, I'm not too beat up about that. Because honestly, we need a defense out there. And not that Jaylen can't play it, but we need a guy that's unselfish. We got too many scorers out there. So yeah, I didn't care for Grant's explanation. To me, it sounded a little collusion-y. Last thing I'll say is that even Jason Tatum, I don't know what's going on. Even Jason Tatum didn't get any minutes against Serbia, so now the streets are talking about that, and I don't know what's going on with this Olympic team. It's a little too much drama and politics. I've never seen so much politics happening on an Olympian team. But then again, there was politics with what your boy was. That's my boy. Isaiah Thomas and Jordan back in the day. So I guess politics was always a thing. I think social media is just taking things a
Exactly.
little
Yeah.
bit further.
It's the debate shows are making it more of a. It's that's always been an element of this thing. It's just now because everything is a debate show and all of
Mhm,
these shows that do these segments every
mhm,
day,
mhm,
it magnifies it.
mhm.
Because it's always been that way.
Yeah, yeah, no, and fair,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's my point, man. So I'm disappointed in Grant Hill. I'm a company man at my job. I get it. You know what I'm saying? So I get it, man. But still, bro, like I just thought Grant Hill was just another kind of dude. But he's showing me what his new role is going to be going forward, and I don't care for it. But what are your thoughts, man, on Grant Hill calling or asserting that Jaylen Brown's a conspiracy theorist because he didn't make the Olympic team? You buying that?
So to be clear, he said, "I don't." Again, I'm just rereading Grant Hill's comments. He
Mhm.
said, um, I don't know if that was before or after things went out on Twitter, but yeah, I think this idea that there's a conspiracy theory. So, I always love a good conspiracy theory, but it was really truly a basketball decision. I don't know that he's directly calling Jaylen Brown a conspiracy theorist. He's just,
Right, right.
I think
He's
Jaylen Brown took
asserting.
it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But he still used that word though. You know what I'm
Correct,
saying? Like Grant Hill still instituted the idea of conspiracy into the conversation by using the
correct.
word in the first place.
Hmm.
I mean, Grant Hill. So Grant Hill calls games for March Madness, and then he calls games on TNT. He's always talked like a politician to
Hmm.
me when it comes to his broadcasting career. Like
Hmm.
I don't really know how he talks in his private life, but he
Same.
has a broadcasting personality
Yeah.
that he brings up, that he conjures up whenever he's calling games. So
Hmm.
the fact that he went total, president of the United States in terms of his explanation doesn't catch me off guard because
Hmm.
I've been hearing that version of Grant Hill since he started calling games on TNT and during March Madness. He just sounds presidential when he's calling games, very not going to say anything even remotely controversial. Everything is complimentary. He'll never criticize a player. He doesn't say anything compelling.
Hmm.
So that's the kind of person that is usually the mouthpiece for a particular governing body or organization for something.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I didn't like his explanation either because to me it didn't make sense.
Right.
Like he said, the idea was to replace Derrick White, was to replace Kawhi Leonard with Derrick White because of fit,
Right.
insinuating that the style of play is comparable.
Hmm.
But if you're gonna do that, Jaylen Brown's game is much more similar to Kawhi Leonard's than Derrick White.
Agreed.
So if you were trying to do a swap for a swap in terms of style of play, that explanation doesn't make sense because Kawhi's game is much closer to Jaylen Brown's game than Derrick White's game is close to Kawhi's game. Like
Mm.
he should have just said, even though we lost Kawhi Leonard, who's a playmaker and a scorer, we wanted another role player and 3-and-D guy on the team, which is why we went with Derrick White. That's all he had to say.
Exactly.
But he tried to make it a matter of like fit in term, like he made it a matter of fit juxtaposed to Kawhi Leonard. Because I do agree in a vacuum, it is a better fit. Because they do got a bunch of guys who need the ball. Derrick White doesn't need the ball, and he plays good perimeter defense, and he makes open threes.
Right. That's
So
all you had to say.
yeah, so from a fit standpoint, just say that.
Right.
But he goes into fit comparing him to Kawhi, which to me didn't make sense because Kawhi and Jaylen Brown kind of play the same game.
Mhm.
Now, I think at this point, Jaylen Brown's better because Jaylen Brown's healthier. Kawhi Leonard, I'm done with Kawhi. He's never
Me
healthy.
too, dog.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with
Me
him.
too.
It's a wrap. I'm over him. I'm never going to ever again in my basketball watching life put him in the conversation for elite players. I refuse. I'll never do it again. He always gets hurt. Book it, guaranteed. He's not going to be available. He gets hurt. It is what it is, man. So I'm done with Kawhi. I'm just done.
Mhm.
But Jaylen Brown and Kawhi are more similar in terms of game than Derrick White and Kawhi. So the explanation to me did not make sense. And I just disagree with that. I didn't like that. Like, just explain that it's about replacing a playmaker with a role guy who can help in areas where you feel like the team is weakest. In terms of like maybe perimeter D and open 3-point shooting. That's fine. But don't say, oh, we did it because we're losing Kawhi and replacing Kawhi with Derrick White as the fit move, because the fit move to replace a guy with Kawhi's game would have been Jaylen Brown. But in my opinion, here's what he should, and this is where I'm gonna go. This I say this halfway joking, but I'm also halfway serious.
Mhm.
Here's what he
Uh-huh.
should have done. He'd never have the guts to do this. Here's what he should have done. He should have done what he did. He should have brought in Derrick White. I'm cool with that.
Mhm.
Then he should have sent Jason Tatum home and replaced him with Jaylen Brown.
That would have been a hellstorm, bro. Hell
Now,
no.
I know he would. In a million years, they'd never do that.
Mhm.
But the team would be better.
Yeah.
The team will be better. That's what he should have done. Kawhi go home. Okay, bring in Derrick White. And hey, look, Jason Tatum, we appreciate you. Now, of course, you have to do this before the team actually makes the trip overseas. But they had time to figure that out. Hey, man, look, Jason Tatum, we appreciate your service. We're gonna go ahead and replace you with Jaylen Brown because he's better than you. And the thing about and the thing about it is, if you watch the exhibition games, Tatum didn't jump off the screen to me. Like, I'm watching the game, and it's no shocker to me that him and Halliburton didn't get minutes. Him and Halliburton during the exhibition games contributed the least on the team. Every time Steve Kerr went to a lineup where Tatum and Halliburton were on the court, the opposing team got back into the game.
Mhm.
And then they had to sit those guys down and bring back LeBron and Curry and Devin Booker and Anthony Davis. Those to me are the four guys who are playing the best. Specifically, I'm not, I know I don't like the guy, but LeBron and Anthony Davis are playing very well.
Yeah.
So the thing is, whenever they put LeBron and Anthony Davis in the game, they shut everything down and they go on a run. They're blowing the team out by 20. Tatum and Halliburton getting to the game with Tatum's shitty ass shot selection, they let the other team right back in the game. So I know I'm kind of being a jerk face by saying this, but
Mm.
I would have sent Jason Tatum home and I would have replaced him with Jaylen Brown because Jaylen Brown plays better defense. His shot selection is better.
Mhm.
And Jaylen Brown is less of this AAU do a whole bunch of moves and take a bad three. Jaylen Brown gets easier baskets better. He plays around the rim better. He's more likely to do basic things like cut and set screens. So that's what I would have done. But that's a tangent. To take it back to Grant Hill, yeah, I hear you on how he sounded presidential. I agree. Um, and his explanation to me made zero sense. If it was about replacing Kawhi in terms of style of play, the move would have been Jaylen Brown over Derrick White. Just give
Right.
a better explanation instead of thinking that people are dumb and are not going to understand that you're basically just word salading everybody
Yeah.
because you don't have the courage to just say we didn't want Jaylen Brown because we thought Derrick White was the better fit in terms of roster construction.
Right. And yeah, and it's because he said that. He did say that, but he didn't expound. Like if he just expounded on that, uh, and stood on that, I think a lot of people would have been like, "Oh, well, I mean, Derrick White is a good defender,
Yeah.
so all right, let's just roll with it." But I'm just leaning on. I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on with Olympian things. There's an honor and there's a thing with that where you can say that I'm a gold medal winner and all that other stuff. And for whatever reason, I don't think they wanted Jaylen Brown to say that he was also a gold medalist. Uh, if he did this whole sweep thing, that would have been a narrative problem. I don't think they really like Jaylen Brown. I think I see that's what I'm saying. This is a weird thing with this dude. Um, I think Jaylen Brown's an upstanding guy, and I think he's just wants to live a good life and do things, get back to the community, and do all that good stuff. And he stands on business on stuff, and but he's not always standing on NBA business. And everybody on that Olympian team is. You don't hear them say anything about anything. Matter of fact, most of the people on that team, when Kawhi got into his mess, either didn't say anything or threw not Kawhi, Kyrie.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, they either didn't say anything or they threw him under the bus. Jaylen defended him and stood on business with that. And I don't think that put him in good favor. He's not a Nike athlete. Kyrie left Nike. Like, I don't know how big Nike's pull is. He's in these circles. I'm not. But for him to feel like he got slighted due to some political reasons, I wouldn't call him I wouldn't even assert that he's a conspiracy theorist. That's what I'm saying. That was a harmful word to use towards a professional like this, because now there's going to be people running out here just thinking that he's a crackpot and that he thinks the world's out to get him. And I don't think so, man. I just think that he's in these circles, like he said, hey man, I know what's going on, so don't call me that. And I just think that wasn't fair. I thought that was a cheap shot, to be honest. So yeah, I didn't care for that. So yeah, man, we'll see what's going on with this. I don't know what's going on with the Jaylen Brown saga, but apparently there is one now. But I support Jaylen. I think he's an upstanding dude. I think he's just a upstanding dude that's in the NBA and caught in some politics with guys who are willing to be corporate guys. And I think Jaylen is a corporate guy to an extent, but he also knows who he is. And I think with that type of stuff, those people don't always get favor. So just pick guys who are quiet, out of the way, and play by the rules. And those are the guys who are going to win gold medals. But the people that want to be individuals too much or want to do too much or say too much, those guys are going to get left off the team. So and I think that's what's going on here. But hey man, who knows? But there's two things that Kyrie and Jaylen Brown have in common, and it was that whole fiasco. So hey man, we'll see what's going on. But yeah, man, all this politics going on with the Olympian team, I don't care for it. But it looks like there's going to be more drama. These guys, there's always something going on with these guys. So we'll see what happens, man. But shout out to Jaylen Brown, though, man. Keep your head up, Flip.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about all that. I mean, I don't think it would have been a good idea to put Kyrie on the team.
I don't think so.
Maligned as he is, I think his style of play does not
Fit.
lend itself to being on that team. And I don't know. I mean, Jaylen Brown, I just think he's getting hosed. Like I said, I just think that these people made a move that they thought would make the roster better. And that move didn't involve Jaylen Brown. And I actually agree with it. I just think the reasoning was convoluted and didn't make sense. Because I do think that Derrick White instead of Jaylen Brown makes sense from a fit standpoint because of what he does. But the way they explained why they did it to me didn't make sense.
Right.
But I don't necessarily know that I think that they're out to purposely keep him out, because I do think that the move was right. I just think it was a horrible excuse. It was a horrible reason. I don't like it. And like I said before, I think there was a place for him on the team. It just was in lieu of his teammate, who I think he's better than, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do think that. I know ESPN ain't going to say that because the advanced metrics say Jason Tatum is a top 5 player, but I actually watch these games and I'm just not a Tatum guy. I'm not impressed. I just think he's a great scorer and he's highly skilled, but I don't think that he is a force multiplier. I think Jaylen Brown is more of a force multiplier.
Agreed.